From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink. The North East Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
How the devil are we, boys?
All good?
Doing good.
Yeah, good.
I'm
Very
excited,
hot
mate.
day here.
Is
38
it?
degrees today here. 38
Oh.
we reached today.
Wow.
It was a stinker today, lads. It was a
Sim.
stinker.
Same here, I've got the heating on full blast.
I've got beautiful blue skies, but it is getting a little bit nippy. I'm in my corporate hoodie today, because obviously I am
Oh.
such a company man, and towing the line.
Surprised you're not in the dressing gown.
Fly in the middle class banner when Dave's off.
That's it, of course, absolutely. I'm gonna ignore what Rye said there, because Rye's seen me once too many times in my dressing gown now. I send Rye little
Every
video
time.
messages, you see.
Every time.
Usually when he's at the top of the ladder, I guess, Ted.
Well, I sent him a couple of messages last night because obviously I tried to get some conversation going in the WhatsApp group. So I started just having a bit of fun, and I was messaging Rye at the same time going, "You're the only one that understands me. I think everyone else thinks I've got some sort of nasty, either a mental illness or going through a particularly nasty breakdown. A bit like Joey Barton, but friendly. You know, that kind of friendly Barton. There we go. So yes, lots to talk about today, lads, and there's a new feature. There's a new game. Yes. Oh, yes.
The quiz sweeping under a nation.
Like I said when I had Jay-Z and Drake over last night when they were at my crib, sat in my studio, they're going like, "You're spending too much money on this, Ted." And I went, "Lads, just shut up, eat your kebabs, sit in the spare room bed, and just be quiet while I finish this." And I believe.
Cats,
I mean,
by the way, listeners, he's named his cats.
Yes. What a great idea! I need to get 2 more cats now. That's it. So, you know me, I'm modest about my involvement with this show, lads. I mean, we've got Daz pushing the buttons. Yeah, it's, absolutely. Daz pushing the buttons. Who's like, he is Mr. Radio, Mr. Smooth. Very, very slick at what he does.
Velvet voice.
You got Rye, who brings the energy. You've got Steve, who brings the intelligence.
Brings it down, don't you mean, when you say that?
And then there's just me, the amateur, But, as I say, I'm modest about this, but this is the best thing that's ever happened to radio across the world.
Yeah.
Like it is. It's
wait.
this is saved radio. It was going to the dark ages, but this has pulled it back from the precipice. So there you go.
Wow.
From the what?
I managed to say precipice properly.
He's not building it up enough.
When one of my mates said, "Why? What is it?" and I said, "Well, it's so crap, it's good."
Oh, that's selling it.
You built it up and knocked
Yes.
it down in one phrase there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't. I'm a realist as well at the same time, you see. So yes,
okay.
we've got that. Obviously, we're going to do the club headlines very shortly, but we're going to talk transfer window rumours, Liverpool, Real Madrid wanting Kylian Mbappe, survival of the fittest. Fulham edged out against Liverpool last night, but I think Fulham are fast becoming the benchmark for teams getting promoted from the
They
Championship.
did all right. They did very good.
Yeah, they did
They
okay.
did. Started really lively as well. We're going to talk about spiciest games we've ever witnessed. That's after Roma and Lazio finished with 3 red cards last night and a beer bottle thrown at one of the Roma players as well. So yeah, that was a bit naughty. There we go. And we're also going to talk a little bit of Real Madrid. We're going to talk a little bit of midweek Fat Club. And probably the other hour, Rye will talk about the Borough win still. So, yeah, should we crack on and get some club headlines and we can get on to the meaty stuff?
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Yes, good morning, Sunderland fans. According to the Northern Echo, Sunderland have added Blackburn Rovers striker Sam Gallagher to their list of potential transfer targets this winter. The former Southampton attacker has struggled for minutes at Ewood Park, having made only 6 appearances this season under Jon Dahl Tomasson, including 5 in the Championship. Regardless, Gallagher still has 2 goals, which is more than Sunderland's 5 strikers put together. A fee of just under £2 million should be enough to see that deal over the line. Friend of the show and all-round top journalist Kieran Gill of the Daily Mail says that West Ham have ruled out an SOS call to free agent Jesse Lingard as the club focus on January targets that include Sunderland's Jack Clark and Ajax's Steven Bergwijn. While both Sunderland and Clark have stated there's no desire to sell or leave at this stage of the season, if a suitably tempting offer came in, then there may be a deal to be done. And finally, Sunderland Echo reports that Elliot Embleton's loan at Derby County has officially been brought to an end as the attacking midfielder looks to return to action later this season. Embleton went on loan to Derby after returning from a broken leg suffered in the latter stages of 2022 at Hull City and made a quick impression before suffering a freak muscle injury when taking a corner at the end of a training session. Embleton underwent surgery and returned to Wearside to begin his rehabilitation, but still technically remained on loan at Derby, who continued to pay a portion of his wages. With the January window now open and Embleton still on the road to recovery, the agreement has officially been brought to an end. They are your Sunderland headlines.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Good morning, Newcastle fans. Bournemouth have denied that Newcastle United have made an approach for Dominic Solanke. News of an inquiry came yesterday, but the Cherries have previously made it clear that they've got no interest in parting with their 13-goal striker. There's no doubt Eddie Howe's a big fan of the centre-forward. He signed him from Liverpool back in January 2019 when he paid £19 million for his services, but any move in this transfer window would mean that Newcastle would have to spend a lot more than that. Manchester City won't move when it comes to the demands for Calvin Phillips' loan deal. They are still insisting on a big fee and a contribution to the midfielder's weekly wages. Phillips is understood to be keen on a move to Newcastle United in January, but no agreement has been reached between City and Newcastle, who of course face each other on Saturday. And Newcastle are one of several clubs to be linked with 27-year-old forward Serhou Guirassy, who is having a season to remember in the Bundesliga. He's currently on international duty with Guinea at the African Nation Cup, having hit 19 goals in just 16 appearances for his club so far this term. Manchester United, Bayern Munich and West Ham have also been linked with a striker, although Bild report that his £15 million release clause expires in mid-January. And a reminder, tickets are on sale now for Newcastle United's Premier League trip to the City ground to play Nottingham Forest on Saturday, February the 10th, which is a 5:30 kickoff. Season ticket holders with at least 120 points can apply. And don't forget, those who fancy a trip to Villa on the 30th of January, there are some tickets still available. Loyalty points now needed for that particular fixture are down to 10 points. That is your Newcastle United headlines on Thursday morning.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, you beautiful Borough supporters. How good is our team? As if the magical glory of Tuesday night at the Riverside wasn't enough, we woke up on Wednesday morning to hear news of Middlesbrough's second transfer breakthrough. It's been some 24 hours. And what is a huge testament to the hard work and planning from Borough's recruitment team leading into this window. We're only 10 days in, they're about to add their second signing, filling a key position through Luke Ayling on loan from Leeds United. It's well known that Borough's new recruitment preference is to sign young talents considered prospects and assets, but there's always been an appreciation the squad can't be solely made up with players of that calibre. That was evident at the start of this season when the club had a tough following a busy summer transfer window that saw 12 new players alive. In the case of Ayling, he's a 32-year-old right back who has a vast amount of experience, proven quality at this level, and also put himself forward as a leader on and off the pitch during a 7.5-year stay at Ellen Road. He was identified as crucial for Borough heading to the second half of the season, having lost both Tommy Smith and Darragh Lenihan to season-ending injuries. Borough prompted to target a right back over a centre-back because Rab Vandenberg has been proving more than capable this season. The young 19-year-old has been absolute class and been able to play through the middle as a more natural position to the young Dutchman rather than the right back slot. And on top of that, Matt Clark has returned from his 14-month layoff while Michael Carrick is still keen to manage him carefully. His form has been an unexpected bonus as well, making Luke Ayling the perfect recruitment. Come on, Borough! That's your Borough headlines.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane, Steve, Ted and Rye, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the red, the tune
I was going to sneeze the whole time I was reading those out. Like, it was like on the edge of my nose. You know, like it was like
It sounded a bit weird.
It was from the start. I was like, I'm going to sneeze here, and then I
look to the light.
and then
Right. Look to the light.
is there something you can do? I was literally
You
going
look to
sneeze
the
the whole
light.
time.
If you look up, if you've got light, look up over, and that makes you sneeze.
All right. Well, yeah. Sorry about that. It was on the edge.
You should never
the whole
ever
time.
stifle a sneeze. You know you should never ever stifle a sneeze, right?
Really?
That can
Is
actually
that bad?
burst a blood vessel. Yeah, dead serious TED talk here, literally. You can actually cause a stroke by stifling a sneeze because you can burst a blood vessel. There you go.
Well, if I go quiet, please send someone over then, because I still feel
There's
like
no
a
chance
sneeze
of
is
that, mate.
brewing,
Is
so-
there?
Yeah,
You're either asleep or talking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's your 2
I
settings.
didn't fall asleep yesterday, by the way. My microphone got cut out. I swear
Whatever.
Dave muted me. but I did listen back and to catch up on it because I was asleep.
All right, did you? Okay, yeah. It was literally the only time you were quiet the whole show. It was brilliant. Me and Steve had some peace. We just brought out the fine china and had a nice cuppa while you were quiet. It was perfect. It was just
fantastic.
bliss, mate. So,
Well, I thought Hayden Hackney
be-
played well. I was really impressed with
give
him.
over, give over. This is exciting, lads. This is one of those opportunities where I sat down thinking, okay, it sounds like Dave's getting a bit bored of what the fact, so I've got to keep the boss happy, and I needed something new, and I've reverse engineered this one, lads. I heard the music first, and the feature has come off the back of the music, so it's a bit of an interesting one. So the idea is, you know how Daz takes the mix in that when I'm not here and I've got to work the other job, and it sounds like I've been kidnapped and I'm actually tied to a radiator.
Oh, mister.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, mister, let me go, let me go.
Help me.
I will read these headlines for you. I don't know why I go into the Stott brothers straight away there, but anyway.
No, I don't either.
It's like a Vic Reeves character all over again. Watching the ships rolling in, rolling out again. Anyway, let's get back to some sort of... Yes, anyway, where was I going with this? Yes, Daz. So Daz obviously levels these accusations that I've been held prisoner. It's not actually true, lads.
Oh.
What has happened is I have kidnapped everyone in football.
Oh,
I've kidnapped them all.
okay.
They're all
Okay.
prisoner. They're all my prisoner now. Ted's gone rogue. Ted's gone evil. So
Wow.
I will release my hostages one by one. If you can guess by 1 second of audio who I've got hostage.
Mario
So-
Balotelli.
I like it. I like
Daz,
it.
Daz, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Today's okay.
God.
I'll best explain.
Steve,
first of all.
Steve, sit down. Are you sitting down, Steve?
I'm sitting down, mate. I'm
I hope
sitting
you're
down, yeah.
All right.
You're gonna
all right.
hear some
this
high
jingle.
quality audio, right? Some really high quality audio. Prepare yourselves for this. This is just face meltingly brilliant.
Is there a tune?
See, yes, there is. Oh, is
That's all
there
I'm
a
bothered
tune?
about.
Oh,
That's all I'm bothered
oh,
about.
is there a tune?
Is there
This
a
is.
tune?
It's not going to sweep the nation like Daz's quiz, but it's going to be close. It's going
Is
to be
it going to
close.
ruin?
Sweeping
Is it
under
going
a
to ruin?
nation.
Is it going to ruin a childhood favorite
Yes.
song of mine? The Rocky
Yes,
theme. goes-
absolutely.
I don't reckon
Absolutely. Yes,
I reckon you're
100%.
fine. I don't reckon Steve
100%.
likes this song.
No, probably not.
There's no
probably
way
not. He
the
probably heard
original
enough of this
song
when he was
Steve
doing the
hates.
Doors. Yeah. Anyway, so you're going to hear some high quality audio. Right at the very end of that audio, you're going to hear a voice. And you need to figure out who that voice is. You need to figure, ready, Daz?
Yep.
Who's Ted going to let out? 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 Ready for the song? Dave said what the fact was lived in. And he said I joined the jobless line. So I kidnapped football and fucking Havana could fit in. So Stephen Rye, you need to shout out, who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Now, who's Ted gonna let out? Need to be quiet, boys. Need to be quiet. It's coming. Right at the end of this little clip.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, no. What?
I'm going to give you a clue. Today's hostage, who Ted may let out, is a Premier League manager, past or present.
Have you got just the voice again?
I don't know whether Daz can probably work his magic. I don't know. Can you?
Can you play
A little bit of warning on that would have been nice.
I think if you could skip to like 50 seconds, Daz,
Okay.
I think that should be enough.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
You talk amongst yourselves.
We've highlighted a possible improvement area.
Was it just a laugh?
Yes, it was just a laugh. We're going to listen to it all again.
Who's taking a lead out?
Right, are you ready?
It's worth another listen.
Here we go.
Potential flaw.
Who's taking a lead?
Oh, hang on. It's stuck on a repeat now. Right, so here we go. This is just the very end. Are you ready? Here we go.
It's just the laugh. Just the laugh we're looking for.
And say, what was the clue again?
It's a Premier League manager, past or present.
Actually sounds like Steve.
It does, aye.
Does
That's
a
what I
little
was
bit,
thinking.
doesn't
Kind of does, actually. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh, that is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was me, and then when you gave the clue, I was going, well, clearly
Hang
it's
on.
not, so-
That's very, yeah. Who sounds like you, Premier League manager?
So anyway,
Maybe
we're going to
Geordie
move on.
manager?
We're going to no, just have a little thing. We'll come back. I don't know whether Daz can isolate that for later on. Maybe I need to just have an isolated version of that in when we do the show in the future.
When this goes out live,
Yes.
yeah, we will be able to do it. Like
Yeah, I mean, thank God we're just recording this. No. Right. Well, we'll move on, boys. The match last night, did any of you watch it?
No,
Certainly did.
I didn't watch it.
Potential opponent for the Borough.
Yeah. What do you reckon, mate? Because I was actually quite impressed with Fulham, and that's not a bad result. Going to Anfield, 2-1 down. Obviously, I know away goals don't count anymore. But I was actually really impressed with Fulham, and that kind of got me thinking about one of today's talking points, which was Fulham now have got to be the benchmark for any team that gets promoted. They bounced around for a little while, but now they look like a genuine Premier League side. They're capable of playing some decent stuff. I know when they went to St James's Park, Steve, that obviously there was a sending off in that first half, and that kind of wrecked their game, and they looked a little bit weak in the game against yourselves. But obviously 10 men for the majority of the game, that was going to happen. The rest of the time, though, they've seemed to be getting a decent squad together. Willian actually absolutely rolling back the years last night. Had a really good performance. What are they getting right? I'll come to Steve first on this one, because I'm guessing you've probably seen more of them. What have they got right that so many other clubs from the Championship haven't?
I think it's just sensible investment in the transfer window. That since they came up, I think from their perspective, they've managed to pick and choose the right players, and that's down to recruitment at the end of the day. They've got a good mix of youth and experience, but they've also, when it's come to their players leaving, they've managed to capitalise and get a decent fee for them. Mitrovic was a hero there. You would never have expected Fulham to perform as well as they have done, losing their goal talisman. I mean, Mitrovic didn't have the same type of impact at Newcastle, but there again, he was playing at Newcastle in a time when Mike Ashley wasn't investing in the playing squad, and he spent a lot of time suspended or chucking himself around and making daft challenges instead of putting the ball in the back of the net, which at Fulham he's proved he can do. But the Saudi League came calling and off he went. But they invested the money wisely, and I wouldn't say that Fulham is a team that's full of household names. When you look at their squad these days, you've got players, of course, that we know, but there's it's really. It's a collective rather than any individual that stands out, which is the case when Mitrovic was there. They've got some.
Yeah.
They've got. Do you know what I mean? So Raúl Jiménez.
I think they're similar to Brighton.
Very similar to Brighton. I think Raul Jimenez is probably the star man as far as Fulham's concerned. But like I say, the rest of the team, if you were doing a quiz in the pub and somebody turned around and said, "Who does Calvin Bassey play for?" you would be like, "Well, it wouldn't be."
His mum's son Goldfinger.
Exactly, you wouldn't be thinking. That's exactly the kind of avenue. That's the avenue you'd be going down, though. You'd be thinking, Bassey. It's got something to do with music. Issa Diop. Again, one of those players. Tom Kearney is another name that probably springs to mind. João Paulina is another one, but the rest of them, they're not household names. Adama Traore, of course, made the move, didn't he? Another season pro in the Premier League. But that's what I'm saying. They've basically managed to accumulate players who, obviously play well together, but who've had, they're not a stranger to the Premier League. I mean, he played with Villa and Borough as well, didn't he? Went to Wolves. That's where he really became a household name. But he's done very well since he came in, and he's an impact player. He comes off the bench and changes games, and he's that's what Fulham do. I've got to be honest, you're right about that game at St James's Park. Had the sending off not happened, I think that would have been a different game altogether. They've never shut up about it, by the way. He constantly points at that particular sending off. He's not happy about it, which doesn't bode well for our fourth round tie against Fulham away. That'll be his team talk. Remember what happened up there? We should have won. But yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. He's a good manager. He has proved that he can manage in the Premier League. And I don't know anything about their backroom staff, and I don't know anything about their recruitment team, but they've certainly done a good job.
Marco Silva, you mentioned the manager there. Sorry, Dry, go on.
No, I was just going to say Marco Silva, exactly that. He's an incredible manager. I think he's someone that you don't sort of see too much of. He's kind of still got that arrogant, egotistical sort of manager about him, where I'm the best and get out of my way sort of thing. And he's very straight spoken. He's quick to tell you when you've done wrong. I think he'd be very, very hard pressed to do anything wrong in that dressing room under him, because I think you'd know about it pretty quickly. I liken it to the boot throwing of his sort of style of management. But the best thing for Fulham was Shahid Khan, who came in 2013. He absolutely rejuvenated that team. He took over as chairman in 2013, and they just gotten rid of Roy Hodgson. I remember that sort of era. And they just dismissed Martin Jol, if anyone remembers him as well. He'd been there a while as well. So, and then he came in and they were in the championship because they'd just been relegated with Martin Jol and Rene Mullenstein, I think it was. And then he came in and then they literally blew it away. I remember we were in the championship and they came in with a transfer record, restructuring the squad. So, and then ever since then, they've just been great because, Shahid Khan has literally just poured money into it, which you need to do. But they've done it smartly. They've bought youngsters. I mean, they bought Tim Ream roundabouts. I mean, Tim Ream's been at that club now 8-9 years, I think. You know what I mean? And he's like vice captain, centre back. When you can have a player that constantly stays at your first team and can stay around for 7-8 years, you're doing something right.
No, absolutely. I think. You talk about careful investment as well. They got that 50 million for Mitrovic that I think has been invested wisely. The likes of Alex Iwobi, a bit part player really when he was at Everton. Never really fulfilled the potential I think he had at Arsenal. But he's coming into his own now. He's kind of joined that group of Nigerian players in the Premier League that are starting to build a good reputation, although obviously nobody ever is going to beat JJ Okocha, I would imagine. It's going to take something pretty special to beat that. But it's a team of non-superstars, and I think that seems to be working for them. The manager, though, I mean, looking at this is actually his best ever spell as a manager, apart from when he was at Sporting Lisbon. He had a win percentage at Sporting Lisbon of 58%. Do tell a lie. He went to Olympiacos and won almost 80% of his matches there. But since coming to England, it's been a little bit of a dry spell, shall we say. Hull City didn't have the best of times there. In fact, he was only there 4 months at Hull City, believe it or not. I forgot he was even there at all. He took charge of 22 games and then 26 at Watford. But to be fair, Watford changed their managers more than I changed me boxer shorts, but there you go. And as a Sunderland fan, that takes some saying. But yeah, then Everton came calling. Again, a bit of a shaky one, a 40% win ratio, 60 games in charge. Again, though, Everton, I mean, I've just read above for Watford, I suppose, because the amount of managers that they've been through is absolutely startling as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was just impressed with Fulham. I thought they deserved that little bit of airtime, and obviously, Rye, you know, we support two teams that are looking to get into the Premier League in the next season or two, and we could do a lot worse than looking at what Fulham have got on the go there. Granted, we haven't got a Mitrovic that we can sell over to the Saudis, but we live in hope, of course. But
yeah, Shahid Khan is a rich man as well. I think he's like the 7th richest owner in the Premier League. Obviously, you got Newcastle and Man City in that, but if you have a look at like the actual owners' wealth and like rank the Premier League's clubs owned by like how much their owners are worth, I'm pretty confident Fulham will be like 6th or 7th. They are like, he is very, very well off. I remember when he bought Fulham, it was only like 150 million or something like that. So you can imagine what Fulham are quite worth now. But I'm pretty confident he, like the actual owner's worth about 7.7, around 8 billion, somewhere around there. So, I mean, he's got money to burn and he's poured it into that club ever since 2013 taking over. And you know what? If you spend money wisely when you've got enough, you can make a formidable club. You just can. It's what, you know, money talks. You know what I mean? If you can build the right team with the right manager, you know, and bring in the right players without, you know, it can go one of two ways. You can build it correctly or you can build it like Chelsea have. You know what I mean? Where you just sort of try to patch holes left, right and centre with £100 million sort of thing, where they have bought young, they've bought talent and they've allowed them to grow into their roles. And then they've topped them up with a few, you know, good stars in Willian, who was obviously an older one that came back, you know, sort of thing.
Doing really well.
Oh, yeah,
done incredible.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Done incredible. And then, you know, they got Leno from Arsenal, that keeper. Do you remember when Leno got pushed out because of Ramsdale? Well, Leno's at Fulham now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, but burn Leno. So, I mean, like, they've just recruited well in that sort of thing. And they've got a good group of Brazilians in there as well, which is funny. I reckon they've got
it's a bit personal, right?
You know, yeah, they've got 2 or 3 good Brazilians in there that are all like sort of kicking on well together. Plus Raul Jimenez. And they were really, really unfairly treated against Newcastle one game this season as well. I thought the red card was false. I thought it was disgusting. And they really should have 3 points more than what they've had. And I stand hashtag, you know, Newcastle red, you know, red gate as I'm standing by.
Good thing about last night, moving on from that stupidity, is really that it's only half time, like I said about Middlesbrough last night, and they've gone to Anfield, which is not an easy place to go to, and come away with a 2-1 defeat. Now that's a great result to go back to Fulham with. Craven Cottage will be bouncing in
good
the
old
second
fashioned
leg.
ground.
And Liverpool won't be fancying that, not at all. So Liverpool did well to pull it back and get the advantage. But I tell you what, 2 ties evenly poised going into the second legs, lads. It's an exciting end of the Carabao Cup, and I wouldn't want to call it like we could be looking at Middlesbrough against Fulham in the Carabao Cup final,
or a letdown that would be, yeah.
Or Liverpool versus Chelsea.
I still predict, you know, look, Stamford Bridge is going to be very, very tough for Middlesbrough to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take away that night at the Riverside, but of course they've only got 1 goal deficit at their hometown. You know what I mean? In their home ground, full of Chelsea supporters. You know, Middlesbrough are going to be hard pressed. You know, there, especially with the chances, you know, that Chelsea were creating. If they do that again, then you know they are bound to score them. They only need a couple of goals. So you know, it's still, you know, potential, you know, of a Liverpool Chelsea sort of thing. But you know what, we dare to dream, and we've done the right thing. We've beat them at our own ground, and now we go to Stamford Bridge full of belief that we can beat a team like them. Fulham as well. Fulham have scored against Liverpool. They haven't lost 4 or 5-0. Do you know what I mean? They've established in the Premier League. They've come up against Liverpool obviously regularly in the league, so they know what they can do. And you know, they've just got to go back there now and take them back to, you know, home as well. And I reckon the second leg at home, like Steve was saying the other day, I think that's what you want in these sorts of fixtures. If you can play the second leg at home, knowing what you've got to do, what you've got to overcome, or what you've got to score, it just makes it a little bit easier, I reckon. And you've obviously then got the crowd behind you already as well, trying to, and you know, telling you what you need to do, sort of thing. So Yeah, it'll be great to watch Fulham against Liverpool at home, and obviously then we've got Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But yeah, tough for Fulham and Middlesbrough in our two next legs. But can't wait.
Indeed, mate. Well, Rye didn't stop talking, so we are slightly late for the sports headlines, but here they come
My bad.
anyway.
Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Together across the northeast.
The tune, the cat, and the red.
Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
That's some alarm clock, that.
Dave said what the fact was lived in.
Yo.
Yip, yo.
Join the jobless line.
Yo.
So what
What
kidnapped
the
football
facto?
and fucking Havana could fit in.
That's a brilliant line. I
like that bit.
Aye.
My favourite part.
You need to shout out, who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
Who is it?
Who's Ted gonna let out?
Mario Balotelli.
Who's Ted
No.
gonna let out?
Here we go, boys. Shh, shh,
Ooh,
shh,
okay,
shh.
turn it up.
It's coming.
Do we get any more? Is that it for the whole thing?
No, that's it. No, you literally get 1 second of audio. I'm not a benevolent hostage taker.
Oh my god. Do we get any more clues?
Well, I can see him crying on the radiator at the minute.
You've got to give us
That's
another
no clue. It's what do you want? It's a Premier League manager, past or present, and you can hear his voice. I mean,
You said he might be.
There you go.
You've changed your clue. You've changed your clue. You said he might be a Premier League manager. He might not, or something before.
No, he is today's hostage is a Premier League passenger. Oh, come on,
Passenger.
a Premier League manager.
Yep. Past
That
or
wasn't
present.
a clue. That wasn't a faux pas.
Past or present?
Past or present Premier League manager. Yeah, it's not.
And that's
that
all we
many
get.
of them.
We get that little laugh and that.
Yeah, who's that? Yeah.
Bring what the fact back. Bring it back. Dave, what the fact was easier than this? Come on.
Daz, let's have it again. Let's have it again.
Who laughs like that? Jeez.
Steve?
Okay, I'm a bit flummoxed, but what I'm going to say, my answer will be, Rye, you like this. Mikel Arteta, Unai Emery, Andoni Iraola, Thomas Frank, Roberto De Zerbi, Vincent Kompany, Marcelo Pochettino, Roy Hodgson, Sean Dice, Marco Silva, Jurgen Klopp, Rob Edwards, Pep Guardiola, Eric Ten Hag, anyhow, Nuno Espirito Santo, Steve Cooper, Chris Wilder, Paul Higginbottom, Ange Postecoglou, David Moyes, or Gary O'Neill.
No, it's definitely
present.
It's definitely a past.
Okay.
I like what you did there, Steve. I do like what you did there. It's a former Premier League manager that is being kept hostage.
Right. Rye, over
Let's
to
have
you,
it one more.
son.
Let's have it one more
Oh
time.
my god.
It's Steve Bruce, isn't it?
No.
Imagine.
The only time he laughs is if there's a buffet.
God.
He'll have been having the
It
kebab
is
with
so
Drake.
similar to Steve. I never even made that connection. It does really
Yeah,
sound like
it is,
Steve,
yeah.
doesn't it? God, yeah.
Jeez,
That's
who
mad,
laughs like that?
Obviously, it's not Steve. It is a former Premier League manager. We shall come back to it.
Right.
Is that
we
Joe
go.
Kinnear?
No, it's not. I don't think Joe ever laughed.
There's only one joke in here.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Remember the Soccer Saturday, the Soccer AM rather, the song that they made up about him that was just like, I don't even dare do it on here. It was one of the greatest play on words that I have ever heard. Like, it was brilliant. But anyway,
It was,
we're going to
it
have some
was.
transfer
Okay.
crack, lads.
Yes.
The one thing that's kind of won't go away is that Dortmund are reportedly interested in taking Jadon Sancho back. Now,
Yeah, just his Instagram.
no,
He reactivated his Instagram. It's been down ever since, like, he had the fallout with Van Gaal. right? He got rid of all social media. Well, just yesterday he reactivated his Instagram with absolutely no pictures on it, but his profile pic is him in Borussia Dortmund socks. That is it. Ooh. That's what he's done. So yesterday he reactivated his Instagram after the fallout, which hasn't been active for months ever since the manager said get rid of social media and all this sort of stuff. Well, he came back yesterday onto Instagram with his 6.7 million followers or whatever, and he's just got one photo of him.
7 million followers.
Yeah, there you go. And it's just him in Borussia Dortmund socks. So
yeah, it's literally just his legs, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm just
it is. Yeah, in the Borussia socks. So signs are pointing.
Maybe a heavy hint.
You're absolutely right.
Maybe a heavy hint.
Yeah.
But the question I want, it's a bit of a multiple part question. They say you should never go back. And is there any cases you can think of where players have been better the second time around at a club? And is there any players you wished had come back to your club? So we'll start with Steve, yes.
Newcastle, mate, probably going back into the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, Mark McGee was at Newcastle in the 80s and didn't do well at all. Wasn't a boo boy's favourite, but he wasn't popular. But then he came back in his later years and managed to partner Mick Quinn up front in the 89-90 season when Newcastle just missed out on promotion when Sunderland beat them in the playoffs. But they scored, I think it was 40 goals between them. And Mark McGee was superb that season. I mean, there's some great footage of him on YouTube. I was at the game. It wasn't the greatest of games. I think we played Bradford at home, and it was in the dying seconds of the game. And Mark McGee just went on this amazing, jinky kind of run through 5 or 6 players and just slotted the ball in the bottom corner to win the game 1-0. But there was so many great goals from Mark McGee that season. And it was redemption for him, really. He did so well. There's been plenty of players who maybe have had a second spell at Newcastle. I mean, Nobby Solano, had 2 spells and was great both times. Peter Beardsley. Peter Beardsley.
Beardsley one was the one I thought of, actually. Yeah.
Beardsley was superb. He came in from Vancouver Whitecaps, and I remember the stuff. Well, obviously I do talk-ins with Peter, and he always says that he was coming back on the flight from Heathrow up to Newcastle, and Kevin Keegan was on the same flight and didn't know, and he didn't know that Kevin would know who he was. And as they got off the plane, he says, "Oh, you're Peter, aren't you?" He says, "You're joining us tomorrow." And he goes, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you better be good. We thought we were getting Kenny Dalglish." So, no pressure. But he was absolutely brilliant, Peter, that season. I mean, that the goal against Brighton in the final game of the season, where he won the tackle, and then just turned and lobbed the ball over Joe Corrigan is something I'll never forget against Brighton in that 3-1 win. But then he came back, of course, when Kevin was manager. He'd been around and won trophies, of course, done very well at Liverpool, had a great time at Everton under Howard Kendall, but then came back to Newcastle as a senior player. And you're thinking, is this gonna be a good move? We got rid of the likes of David Kelly and Gavin Peacock had left due to personal reasons, and they were the mainstay of the squad that got us up. But Peter Beardsley came in, and I think the game I always remember is Oldham away. He just scored this wonderful like chip from about 25-30 yards over the top of the advancing keeper to win 3-1, and that was the season that Scott Sellers and Peter Beardsley helped Andy Cole become the legend that he became in the Premier League. And there's been so many over the years. Slightly different slant, Alan Shearer, as a player, but then coming back as a manager, sadly under Mike Ashley, which meant that the only memory we have of Alan Shearer is taking us down at Villa Park when it wasn't really his fault. The damage had been done long before he came in. That was probably a slightly different version of someone coming back to the club but not doing so well. But yeah, there's been many over the years, at Newcastle, but they're the ones that stand out.
All right, you're right. I mean, the one that springs to me is Juninho for you guys. He came back the second time.
Yeah, Juninho for sure. Yep, I would agree. But there's been a few like that that's come back. I mean, Stuart Downing, he had two stints with us. Jonathan Woodgate, he had his first spell wasn't too good. He had a loan and then a permanent transfer But then he came back a second time, a few years later and did all right. Stuart Downing's return wasn't the greatest, but I mean, he had 181 when we were in Premier League, and then he came back and tried to help us out of the Championship, which he did. In all fairness to him, Jonathan Woodgate. I guess that there's definitely been a few that they've come back and gone. But in terms of players that have left these days, that last year we still talk about last season, don't we, Daz? I mean, Chuba Akpom for me, Aaron Ramsey, Brian Giles, they're all names. For me, Aaron Ramsey, I'd love to have him back. I literally was speaking to him yesterday. It's literally, I'd love to have him back. Marcus Tavernier as well, who's killing it for Bournemouth.
Tough,
he went up to the Premier League, and I think he's doing fantastic up for Bournemouth now. So I'd love to have him back. But for players that have done twice, I don't know, Daz. For me, it's just Stuart Downing, obviously Junior. You can't forget about him. Jonathan Woodgate. I can't think of many others that have gone and come back.
Do you know? I remember one of the things about Juninho coming back in 2002 was I was really cynical about it because it was announced around the time there was rumours they were doing the season ticket renewals, and I thought that's really naughty, because he was an absolute legend. He'd been to Atletico, he'd done well there, and it was, it was. He'd already came back on loan, and then it was like, I remember putting some posts up actually on the internet in the early days, quite critical of it. Quite critical of the move. But he came back and he was instrumental in that old Carling Cup win. So, as much as he came back twice, didn't he? But I think one of the other players that I would love to, and again there was rumours, I don't know, it was last season, is Adama Traore. I would love to see him back at the Riverside.
He was the best football I've seen him play was when he was with us. I haven't seen him reach what he did with us at any other club, and I don't know if that's down to Tony Pulis, because I know they had a great relationship between those two. But honestly, he was unstoppable when he was playing for us. My goodness.
Yeah, and he hadn't discovered the baby oil at that point when he played for us.
No, he hadn't.
So, let's move on.
Had the arms though. My God, that kid can bench. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like to go to the gym, but that kid can bench. Like, he is massive. You know what I mean? So, but I'd love to have him back. But yeah, two players that spring to mind for me, obviously Juninho, but Stuart Downing had two spells. His first spell was excellent. Obviously, that's what made him. He then went from, I think he went to Sunderland on loan, which is funny enough, after the first spell.
He did.
And then he went off to Aston Villa and Liverpool to stay in the Premier League. But he came back to us in 2015. And he was still good, but he was nowhere near the Downing that left, I reckon. And Jonathan Woodgate, I feel like his second spell was probably better than his first. His second spell, he ended up playing around 60-odd games, where his first spell was about 30. And then he had a big move to Tottenham after we were sort of going downhill. But, I think for players that have left in recent times that I'd love to have back, Aaron Ramsey, but Tav, who's killing in the Premier League, and Chuba Akpom, of course. I think Chuba Akpom, after seeing a striker finally crack and score 29 goals for our club, which we haven't had in I'm talking Yakubu, Viduka days. Viduka's another one I'd love to have come back. He left on a free, and he was one of the best strikers we had. And Mark Schwarzer as well, one of the greatest goalkeepers we've ever had, 300-something odd games for Borough.
Do you mean ex-Chelsea goalkeeper?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see that?
Did you see that?
Yeah.
I did. Disgusting. You know what they called him German as well? They said German ex-Chelsea keeper Mark Schwarzer. I was like, you're kidding me, Sky Sports. You are taking the proverbial. It was disgusting. The German ex-keeper for Chelsea.
Someone had put a fact up saying that he'd actually been on Sky Sports more than he'd appeared in Chelsea's kit.
Brilliant.
And they still called him ex-Chelsea goalkeeper.
We had
amazing.
We had Lee Clark back for two spells as well. I remember.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, he did.
He scored that goal against.
Yes.
He scored that goal against Middlesbrough. It was the only goal he scored in the second spell. It was a 2-2 draw against Borough at St James's, and he scored that goal. And of course, somebody who I used to manage as well. I used to be his agent, Pavel Cernacek. He came back for a spell. only played 2 games in his second spell, but I'll never forget that night where he came onto the pitch. It was quite an emotional moment for him, just to be recalled and to come back on. But as you say, an absolute legend. Back in the day as well, Terry Mack, Terry Hibbert both had second spells at the club. Not many. It looks like we've got probably about 10 or 11. I think that Newcastle that actually came back. John Craggs is one for the history books. He was a player in the 60s and then came back in 66 to 71, 82, 83 came back.
Borough as well, wasn't
he was.
Didn't Andy Carroll have 2 spells with you?
No.
I think
No?
Did he not?
Okay.
I thought he did.
I thought he was like 2006ish, and then he came back.
Never came back.
Didn't he?
No, he went
Okay.
he went to Sunderland, didn't he? Didn't he go to Sunderland?
Yeah. Maybe he
Did
did.
he go
I
to
don't know.
Sunderland?
I thought he had 2 different spells.
What about you, Ted?
Hang on, let me.
Yeah, it's never really worked out for us with the homecomings. The most recent one, obviously, was the one last dance that was Jermaine Defoe, and then I mean, he built a great legacy. Obviously, the work he did with little Bradley and the family in his first time with the club was just like legendary, and I think he'll always be loved for that, and that's why Sunderland fans will always cut him a little bit of slack. Obviously, the goals he scored kept us in the Premier League. There was some ridiculous clause in his contract that Mags Byrne, the old chief executive, put in there that if we got relegated, he could leave for a free, which honestly is just like the worst piece of business we've ever done. But I mean, the left foot volley against the Geordies is probably one of the greatest derby goals I'll ever see in my lifetime. Just incredible. But when he came back, obviously Lee Johnson was in charge. We're in League One. He'd finished his stint with Rangers, and to be honest, his legs had gone. And he decided sort of after a couple of games of trying to get himself going again that it wasn't for him, and he actually retired. He left us in the lurch a little bit, and I know a few Sunderland fans that it left a nasty taste in the mouth, and it didn't quite work, and that's why there's a little bit of ill feeling towards that now, because ultimately it took a bit of budget, and that's why we couldn't get another striker in who may have actually been some good in firing us up that season. But yeah, that's one of them. George McCartney did come back for a spell as well.
Paul's
our left
dad.
back. Sorry?
Paul's dad.
Yeah, Paul's
That's the sort of dad you do. Oh, yeah, come on.
Oh God! I know, and I'm acting disgusted, but secretly I'm jealous.
That was good.
Very good. Yes, the combination of 2 Beatles. Yes. Oh, that was very Alan Partridge. So McCartney was all right the first time around. He went away to West Ham. He came back. I think it was under Big Mick, and it just didn't really work out, I don't think. There was another one, Stan Varga. Remember Stanislav Varga?
Wow.
He started off magnificently for us, and I've never seen best debut I've ever seen for Sunderland, like bar none. This guy at centre back, he had his first game against Arsenal at home, and this guy was knocking like 60, 70 yard passes, absolutely on the toes of the wingers. He just looked incredible. Then he got a really serious injury, like to the point this guy just moved into the Northeast, just moved to the UK, and there was, I'm sure it was some sort of blood disorder or something like that. Somebody might correct me if you can. WhatsApp the show. But yeah, he looked at one stage like he might even lose a leg through this weird condition that he developed through this injury. But yeah, he came back. He was solid for us. He went to Celtic, and then Roy Keane brought him back on a deadline day where I think we made about 8 signings. Graham Kavanagh, ex-Borough, was actually one of them that day as well. Who didn't let us down in the Championship. Cav was. I like Cav. I never thought he got a fair crack of the whip in the Premier League, to be honest with you. But there you go. But when he came back the second time, it was just another one where the legs had gone. If anybody who I wanted to come back, if you remember when the Drummondville consortium, the Irish lot, took over at Sunderland after Bob Murray sold up. We were looking to get players back in. Niall Quinn was actually manager and chairman at the same time, which was a bizarre moment in our history. Quinny will tell you he was absolutely naff at being a manager. But we tried to get Kevin Phillips back, and it was looking close to happening. Which you think, like, proven goal scorer. I mean, just what a striker! The record to go with it. But he instead chose to go to West Brom and was roundly booed when West Brom came to town. That was the only win, I think, under Quinny's regime was that game. But yeah, so it was a bit disappointing. Phillips kind of turned his back on us, but in hindsight, do you go and spoil that legacy that you've created? It's a bit of an iffy one. He'll always be a Sunderland legend now, but if he come back for one season and barely scored any goals, then obviously it tarnishes that reputation, doesn't it?
Andy Cole went to Sunderland in 2007-2008 season, and he played 7 games, didn't score a goal.
That's right. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that was we had Dwight York at the same time.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah, true. Yeah.
And I think they got 1 goal between them.
Yeah.
Have you seen the breaking news, lads, about Sven-Goran Eriksson's just revealed that he's got terminal cancer, lads?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So bad news breaking there about the former England manager, Sven-Goran Eriksson.
That's awful.
Oh, yeah,
That's
wow.
absolutely awful.
Less than a year to live. Far out. That's not
That's
good.
awful.
Hey, just on it, Steve, as well. Andy Carroll did play for you twice. He played from 2006 to 2011, 80 appearances and 31 goals, and then he came back in 2019 and played 37 games for you, scoring 1 goal. So he did have 2 stints at Newcastle.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
There you go. So Andy Carroll,
his founder has been
2011.
Oh, Andy Carroll. I'm talking about Andy Cole, man. We're talking about Andy Cole, not Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll.
No, I'm not talking.
Andy Carroll.
I knew Andy Carroll. I knew Andy Carroll had come. I'm talking about Andy Cole, not Andy Carroll. You misheard.
I was talking to Andy Carroll back when, but I was that's what I was asking. But
Carroll,
Andy Carroll played twice for you. That's what I was. That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Andy Cole was who we're talking about. And he was in Newcastle, 93 to 95, mate. So yeah, you misheard.
And did you say Solano? You did say Nobby, didn't you? Because you got the dinner with him soon, don't you?
Yeah, Nobby's in. Yeah, he was there twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gutted. Actually, I would have liked to have gone and seen the Nobby Solano event that's on, because that would have been a little belt of that. Obviously, I'm not a fan of his football. I'm a fan of his trumpet playing, as you know.
Doesn't play anymore.
Does he not?
Doesn't he? Giving it away.
That's a shame, that.
Wow.
Give it up, mate. Give it up. The band, he still can pull the band together, though. He still gets the Geordie Latinos together.
Oh, brilliant, man. I've heard them a couple of times. They used to do like sort of little like sort of Backstreet gigs when they first started. It was not Backstreet Boys. I mean, like Backstreet, like little bars and all that sort of thing. There was there was like an arts club that was not far from where the Big Weatherspoons used to be, Steve, in the town itself.
Yes. Yeah.
There was like a little arts bar just up one of the side streets, as if you're heading up towards where Pizza used to be. And I heard them in there. Honestly, just fantastic gigs. I do miss that about the Northeast music scene was class. You could walk into any bar, pretty much any night of the week, and there would always either be a guitarist on, singer on, or you get like a little Latino band like that on. It's one of the things that's synonymous with the Northeast, I think, is those bits of live music where they just spring up out of nought, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
I agree.
And speaking of high quality music,
Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
Who is Ted gonna let out?
Who's Ted gonna let out?
Who?
I mean, just quality lyrics here.
The fact was lived in, and he said I joined the jobless line. So I kidnapped football and folk in Havana could fit in. So Stephen Rye, you need to shout out, who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
Ready? Here we go.
Right. Shh.
I love that guitar instrumental.
You talked over it.
Oh God.
There you go.
Premier League manager.
One more time, Des.
Are you sure?
Are you trying to Hang on a minute. Hang on. I don't trust him. Are you trying to Shazam that?
What do you mean Shazam's going to come up and be like, yes, this singer was? They do songs, not ex-Premier League managers.
It might. I don't know how it works. I'm old, okay?
Oh, no. It's just like it's like a recognizable laugh.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
It's a
listen,
real.
I don't think you
I'll
can
give
give us
you-
any more clues.
It's Steve.
I'll give
yeah,
you
it's gotta
one
be
more
Steve,
clue.
yeah.
I'll give you one more clue.
All right, go on. Thank you.
Right? The team that this former Premier League manager used to manage is on the coast.
Oh, Harry Redknapp.
Oh, it's a good shout, you know. Play it again. I can see why you'd say that. I can see why you're saying that. It's not right, but I can see why you'd say that.
It's too high pitched for
coastal-
Laurie McMenemy.
Yeah.
He was never a Premier League manager, was he?
God, it's so like,
just to state, it's not old First Division. This is Premier League.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Premier League manager.
Right, are you Googling Premier League manager laughs on YouTube?
No. can you even do that? I don't know. I tell you what. I
Can you even? I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. Whatever.
Just I am.
That's when I hear Steve laugh now. I'm going. Hang on, is he playing the full clip?
That's him, mate. It's him. I swear to
It
God.
does
it's
sound
him.
like him. It's mad.
Does it?
Anyway,
Bloody
listen.
hell.
Let's not be late for the news. Otherwise,
right.
Radio Dad and
Too
Radio
late.
Uncle will tell us off. Come on then.
On DAB, online, on your smart speakers. This is the North East Footy Brekky. We'll be back with more football chat after this.
Catch me or I go Houdini.
The North East Footy Breakfast right across the North East on DAB, online and on smart speakers. And like I said earlier, you can get in touch with us on 0330 043 2002. Good morning, gents. How are we doing?
Good
That was
morning,
all-
good
that was
morning,
all
good
good.
morning.
We've
No,
had
my
another
head
guess
boggling with that
for
one.
who's Ted going to let out. It's the Holgate Ender on X, formerly Twitter, of course. It's Ted. It's Terry Venables, says the Holgate Ender, with some conviction and some confidence. However, I've destroyed that confidence by saying it's not right. But good guess, I said in a patronising
Well
wink.
done. Oh,
I love the Holgate Ender. He's actually good crack. I do. I get probably nicer comments from the Middlesbrough fans and Geordies than I do
That's
from the
what I'm
Mattins.
saying. Borough fans,
me and my
baby, Borough fans.
me and my huge 16 followers on X, guys, 16. And I got abuse the other day because I'm new to all this, right? I'm not up with these newfangled apps and all that sort of thing. And I got abuse from a Geordie fan the other day because I only had 15 followers. And I thank them very much for getting in touch because 3 of them were bots, so I managed to whittle it down to 12. And I think it's nice that we're looking out for each other online there. So that's always
it's
lovely
good.
to see. So
yeah, it is good.
I'm going to give you one more clue for
All right.
who's Ted going to let out.
Very nice.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
It's from the West Coast.
All right, okay, so that narrows it down a bit.
It does. Somewhat. It's quite a
Okay.
shorter coast.
So which clubs are on the West Coast, Rye? With your map that you had out on your wall
Yeah,
there.
I had to look it up.
And you were going, which coast?
The ex-military in Rye's about to come out. He's now got a laser pointer on a map of the world. Going, we'll attack the enemy from
As the music was playing, he was doing a forward roll, and then as he landed on his feet, he was putting mud on his face and stuff. He was
like an
tying a
Australian
sock around,
MacGyver.
tying a white sock around his head. Yeah, and he was looking left and right with his eagle eyes.
Hopefully not the one under his bed. Ugh.
I mean, Blackpool? Is that Blackpool? I mean, Liverpool? I mean, is Liverpool, obviously, are they kind of coastal, aren't they? I mean, Blackpool.
So I'm going to leave that with you.
We have had a guess as well from our Jack in Leicester.
Go on, Jack,
he
lad.
said, is Ted going to let Big Sam out?
No. Do you think I could? Right, come on. Who in their
Big
right minds would
Sam.
kidnap Big Sam?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
am I supposed to pick up Big Sam and get him in the van? Think about
Although,
it, Jack. Think about it.
One of the best laughs though, when he laughed at Chico Flores. Remember that when he did a dive in
Oh
front of him?
yes.
He just laughs at him.
There you go.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's a corker, isn't it?
We've
Anyway.
also got. He's also added onto his text. What's black and white and black and white and black and white and black and white? A Newcastle fan rolling down the hill, which he's let himself down there a little bit.
Block his number.
What's on it?
Jack, we don't need that level of negativity.
Come on, Jack. Pick yourself up, Jack. Go again.
To be honest, he's probably got a chance of getting a gig on the station, which looks like that. Dave's already getting it. What's his number, Daz?
Yeah. Jack who? Jack.
That's drive time sorted. Tick. Right, shall we get some club headlines and then we'll crack on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that. Come on.
Smoggies and Proud. Borough News.
Good morning, you beautiful Borough fans. As if Tuesday night wasn't magical enough, Middlesbrough have added Luke Ayling on loan from Leeds United. In a huge testament and hard work and planning from Borough's recruitment team leading into this window, we're only 10 days in and we've added our second signing, filling a key position they've identified coming into this window after losing Darragh Lenihan and Tommy Smith. Luke Ayling is predominantly a right back, but can also fill in at centre back. Matt Clark has also returned from his 14th month layoff, and while Michael Carrick was still keen to manage him carefully, his form has been an unexpected bonus in centre-back role, moving him to target Luke Ayling. Borough have been prompted to sign the 32-year-old, even though their new age era is signing considered prospects or assets. But there's always been an appreciation that the squad cannot solely be made up on those players of those calibre, which was evident at the start of this season when we had a tough start following the 12 players of arrived. Borough will move into this weekend against Millwall with Finn Azaz and Luke Ayling now in their ranks. It's time to start climbing back above the Mackems. Up the Borough. That's your headlines.
Magpies and Proud. Mags News.
Bournemouth have denied that Newcastle United have made an approach for Dominic Solanke. News of an inquiry came yesterday, but the Cherries have previously made it clear that they've got no interest in parting with their 13-goal striker. There's no doubt Eddie Howe's a big fan of the centre-forward. He signed from Liverpool back in January 2019 when he paid £19 million for his services. Of course, he'd be wanting a lot more for the striker this season. Manchester City won't move when it comes to the demands for Calvin Phillips' loan deal, insisting on a big fee and a contribution to the midfielder's weekly wages. Philip is understood to be keen on a move to Newcastle this January, but no agreement has been reached between City and Newcastle, who face each other on Saturday. And Newcastle are one of several clubs to be linked with 27-year-old forward Serhou Guirassy, who is having a season to remember in the Bundesliga. He's currently on international duty with Guinea at the African Cup of Nations, having hit 19 goals in just 16 appearances for his club so far this term. Manchester United, Bayern Munich and West Ham have also been linked with a striker, although Bild report that his £15 million release clause expires in mid-January. And just a reminder that tickets are on sale for Newcastle's trip to the City Ground to play Nottingham Forest on the 10th of February. If you've got 120 loyalty points, you can apply now. And slightly earlier, Newcastle face Villa at Villa Park. That's on the 30th of January. And you need 10 points, 10 loyalty points for that. Still some tickets remain for the Villa away game on a Tuesday night. That's your Newcastle United headlines on Thursday, the 11th of January.
Mackems and Proud. Black Cats News.
Good morning, Sunderland fans. According to the Northern Echo, Sunderland have added Blackburn Rovers striker Sam Gallagher to their list of potential transfer targets this winter. The former Southampton attacker has struggled for minutes at Ewood Park, having made only 6 appearances this season under Jon Dahl Tomasson, including 5 in the Championship. Regardless, Gallagher still has 2 goals, which is more than Sunderland's 5 strikers put together. A fee of just under £2 million should be enough to see that deal over the line. Friend of the show, Kieran Gill of the Daily Mail, says that West Ham have ruled out an SOS call to free agent Jesse Lingard as the club focus on January targets that include Sunderland's Jack Clarke and Ajax's Steven Bergwijn. While both Sunderland and Clarke have stated there's no desire to sell or leave at this stage of the season, if a suitably tempting offer came in, then there may be a deal to be done. And finally, the Sunderland Echo reported Elliot Embleton's loan at Derby County has officially been brought to an end as the attacker midfielder looks to return to action later this season. Embleton went on loan to Derby after returning from a broken leg suffered in the latter stages of 2022 at Hull City, and made a quick impression before suffering a freak muscle injury when taking a corner at the end of a training session. Embleton underwent surgery and returned to Wearside to begin his rehabilitation, but still technically remained on loan at Derby, who continued to pay a portion of his wages. With the January window now open and Embleton still on the road to recovery, the agreement has officially now been brought to an end. And they are your Sunderland headlines. Steve, I've just noticed in your headlines there, mate, we're both linked with Bournemouth strikers, Sunderland and Newcastle. Dominic Solanke, obviously, for yourselves. Kiefer Moore with ourselves as well. I wonder if one deal might actually scupper the other, but Solanke, what a signing that would be. What a signing.
I mean, look, he's Premier League proven. It depends what the fee is for Newcastle, I guess. Nothing coming out of St James's Park at all with regards to transfers. Hence the rumours and speculation are building up momentum about Calvin Phillips, about Solanke, Garassi now being added to that list. But there is, there's always going to be rumour and speculation around what Newcastle United want. The other thing is, it's the injury list, and I've heard a rumour that potentially Joe Linton could be out longer than expected. Does that mean that there's more emphasis now on potentially bringing in a midfielder rather than a forward in this window? Newcastle, I dare say, could get through to the end of the season quite comfortably with Isak and Wilson dovetailing each other as and when they're both fit. Goalkeeping position, well, a lot of people saying we need a new goalkeeper, me included. I think we do need a backup to Nick Pope, but is that a priority when you've got the likes of Dubravka and you've got able people capable of coming in? Potentially not. Midfield seems to be the area where we are short. That was what we identified in the summer. Tonali was brought in and then was banned, for a season. Yeah. So I would say midfield loan is probably what Newcastle will go for. I think Phillips will come. Do I think Solanke will end up at Newcastle in this window? I very much doubt it. I'd love to be proved wrong. It would be great to bolster the squad with somebody like that, but we definitely need new faces. Isaac Hayden coming back, like I mentioned yesterday, from his loan early, would bolster the squad. It's another body, it's another face. We're paying him. We could play him. He could end up in the mix, but we don't know who's coming back from injury. Harvey Barnes could be back in 2 weeks. Elliot Anderson could be back in 2 weeks. Eddie Howe plays it so close to his chest that potentially, we could have players back. So it will be interesting. Only Eddie Howe knows. He managed on the West Coast as well. Could it be Eddie Howe, the laugh?
Oh. No. to use a Daz expression, no. No, but Solanke's having the season of his life, isn't he? He's absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. Eddie Howe was actually criticised when he got him at Bournemouth because he did pay 19 million for him. And I think he was a teenager then as well. It was an eye-watering sum at the time. But this guy, he's absolutely proven everybody wrong. 13 goals in 20 appearances, I think it is, in all competitions this season. Yeah.
He must be tall as well, is he, with a name like that?
Solanke. Oh,
yay!
Oh, just when you think Radio Dad's not, you ever get Radio Dad jokes.
He's 6'2" anyway, just out of interest.
He's a physical unit, I'll give him that. But obviously, maybe a move for him would scupper Kiefer Moore moving, and that's maybe why that decision to send him out on loan's taken so long. But I'm sure we will see in due course. But spicy games, boys. Spicy games. So I mentioned at the top of the show, the Roma and Lazio were paired together in the cup, the Italian Cup. It's a game that ended with 3 red cards. And also something that we really don't condone, a beer bottle. I mean, how they on a
it was full of beer as well. It was a full beer.
Thrown at Eduardo Bove, being hit by that, which we obviously hope he's all right. What really surprised me was I wonder how the Italian press are reporting this, because I'm sad and I need a hobby, so I actually had a look at Gazzetta dello Sport last night, and for all this had just happened an hour previous. The fact that this player was hit with a bottle was you had to search for that story. It was way down. It was sort of 10th or 11th story down. Bearing in mind that game had just been played. And I'm kind of thinking, well, they're obviously the Italians must handle this in a completely different way to what we do. Because if that had happened in the UK, that would have been front page news. And, you know, it would have been like sort of, like football hooligan fans and basically getting football fans that bad reputation all over again. But anyway, well, enough about that because we talked all about that yesterday. But yeah, obviously the 3 red cards in a cup derby. We didn't see anything like that in terms of excitement in the Sunderland-Newcastle one. But in terms of spicy games, lads, there's one that kind of is etched in my memory as a young kid. It was Germany versus Holland in the 1990 World Cup. And it was a spitting incident where Frank Rijkaard spat in Rudi Voller's hair. There was a red card. I think it's actually the first red card I probably clearly remember. And so, yeah, there's always that bit of spice. But what's the most aggy, kind of aggravated game you remember seeing? Rye, we'll start with you.
I'm trying to think. Because Middlesbrough's never really had too many. I mean, I think.
Are you there?
I think the most we've ever had in one game was 2, and it was like a Southampton game back in '98 or something. Because Middlesbrough have never really had any like full, like seriously, like 3 red cards in a game. I can't remember it. I mean, I remember with Middlesbrough, there was a couple of games against, I remember, was it Morrison on tackle on Ronaldo where he absolutely battered him when Ronaldo was in main form. I think it was Morrison or Cattermole. One of them just went absolutely through him. And then all the players came together. Yeah, but it was, yeah. There was an Australian match, though. There was an Australian match where we were playing, I think it was like New Zealand. It was because we've got this classic rival with Australia, New Zealand. Kind of, I guess, like, England, Scotland sort of thing, this sort of like across the water sort of thing. And I remember there was a game of football back in the early 2000s against New Zealand, and there was like 5 or 6 red cards in that. And there was punch-ons and everything. So, because we weren't very good back then at football, still probably, got a long way to go. But back then it was like really rare for us to be playing football. But I tell you what, we loved the punch-on. So I remember that game being pretty viable. But yeah, I can't remember in terms of Middlesbrough, I can't remember like too many. I mean, the one against Sunderland this season, Josh Coburn and all that getting into it. Like, that was pretty. I liked that. Seeing Joshy Coburn, Dan Ballard going at
the
it.
Floor.
That was pretty good. Dan Neil being disgustingly with his dissent towards one of the best referees I've ever seen. So I guess
because Australians hate being sworn at. Yeah.
I guess when we play Sunderland, that's always got a little bit of extra extra pizzazz to it. Leeds as well, obviously. Yeah. But I can't honestly think of. Daz, can you think of any in Middlesbrough's history?
We're testing.
I can't remember any that are like really bad where there was like heaps of red cards.
I can't think of like. I mean, Pogatetz was a bit like nuts.
Yeah, he was. He was. Yeah, him and Cattermole are 2 of the fiercest I've ever seen. Probably. Yeah. In a Borough shirt.
There was the famous one where Sunderland played Middlesbrough as well, where Cattermole and Leadbitter were grabbing at each other and sort of button heads. Yeah. Mad that later on they actually became teammates and really good mates. That's absolutely bizarre. But go on, Dan, Daz, have you kind of got any in the memory?
No,
not even Borough ones. Any sort of spicy games that stand out?
No, I mean, one of the things I was just going to say about Borough, I remember the Brighton game that where we went up, the Stuani goal.
Yes.
There was that tackle on
Ramirez.
Took
the chunk out of his leg.
Yeah, took a big chunk out of his leg, and that got really tasty. And I just remember the crowd lifting off at that, and that just it meant, I mean, it was already a hyped up Riverside anyway, one of the most hyped up that I'd ever seen, but that just sort of took the whole game to another level, and that was really horrible spicy stuff. That's the only one I think I can think of live.
Stevens something, wasn't it?
Stevens, yeah, was it? Was it Stevens?
Yeah, Stevens, Dale Stevens.
Dale
Stevens, wasn't it? That went through him.
Work him.
Yeah. He was a rough shot that
times. The best one. I mean, I think the most spicy I saw live was it was in the Premier League. Actually, it was Sunderland versus Birmingham. We 1-0 up, and we had. To be honest, it should have been illegal to have the midfield we had that day. Because we had Lee Cattermole in the middle of the park. It was not long after we bought him from Wigan. And then we also had Lorik Sana as well alongside him, who was the Albanian captain, who'd got in from Marseille. I think he'd been captain of Marseille previous to that. And these guys it was like they were trying to out-tackle each other. Every single one. I remember just before half-time, Sana going in for a tackle, and the divot he must have took as he went in for this slide must have been about 20 yards long. You could see the groundsman looking at this ground repair going, how on earth do I even try and fix this? Honestly, he was like a missile, this guy. But both of them ended up getting sent off in that game. We lost the game 2-1. Which sorry, we drew 2s each. But obviously, we had the one in the World Cup where was it Spain versus the Netherlands, where there was multiple send-ins off in that one. That got a bit tasty. But boys, none of them can live up to, and you'll all remember the game as soon as I mention it, in 2011. It was the fifth tier of Argentinian football between rival teams Claypole and Victoriano Arenas. Or Arenas, it should be, sorry.
Yeah. That's something to do with Rent-A-Ghost, is it?
It's a Claypole. Oh, mate.
What a reference.
Just unlocked a core memory there, like. That's where Audrey Roberts started her career.
Natasha Popov.
Yes, that's it, Natasha Popov. Oh, brilliant, man, brilliant. Yeah, the record for showing red cards in a single game, get this. A referee set a record by showing 36 red cards in a single game.
Get off it.
Dismissing all the players, substitutes and coaches. Yeah, that happened 2011 between Argentinian rivals Claypole and Victoriano Arenas. There you go. 36.
Oh
there was nobody left. He must have been sending fans off by the end, like.
Yeah.
But yes.
Spicy games at Newcastle, you'd think it would be Sunderland, and apart from 85 where Bennett and Agbula both got sent off, that doesn't really turn into the spiciest of games. It's always Newcastle versus Manchester United. The most infamous one at St James's was Keane versus Shearer face-off.
Oh, yes.
That really probably epitomises what that game means to both teams, and we're getting back to that kind of rivalry now. There's a one which people probably won't remember because we all tend to block the Mike Ashley era out of our mind, but in 2014 I remember two players accusing each other of spitting, and when it was replayed on Match of the Day, they both actually spat at each other. Papa Citeah and Johnny Evans both spat at each other in a game. That was another feisty clash between two. But there's many. I mean, that infamous one, as you say, Rudy Voller. I mean, that was horrendous. That was a hockle. It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't just.
Yeah. What a great northeast term.
He just went. And then just levelled it at him. I mean, that was
absolute Docker's omelette. Yeah.
Oh, it was. I tell you another one who was naughty. That Liverpool player, and he was prolific. El Hadjouf.
We had him for a while.
Yes.
He spat at a fan. Do you remember that?
Yes, he did.
Remember that? It was Celtic. They were playing in the quarterfinals of the UEFA, and he spat at a supporter. And of course, Eric Cantona, the kung fu kick. Jumping into the crowd and actually, attacking a supporter. I mean, does it get any more bizarre than that? And I guess if we're looking for spice as well, who would ever forget the boxing match, which wasn't promoted? There was no posters in and around Newcastle or St James's Park prior to that, but it was Lee Bowyer versus Kieran Dyer, who decided to have a good old-fashioned punch-up, on the pitch in front of 52,000 people, and they didn't get paid any extra for that. No. When you sent this as a topic, I did decide. I mean, when you said spicy, I thought, I wonder if there's actually any, Indian games, Indian spice. See where I'm going? Curry.
All right. Okay. Oh, I like where you went with this.
And was there?
Oh my God! Somebody researches my content.
And was there a game in India like that? And it's called the Kolkata Derby, locally known as the Borough Match.
Yes.
Really?
There you go. It's a rivalry which has gone over 100 years, and it is the matches are witnessed by a large audience and rivalry between patrons. It's considered to be one of the biggest Asian football rivalries. So there you go.
Wow.
It's called the Borough Match, and it takes place in West Bengal. So if you're ever across in India on your holidays, get yourself a curry, because that's the best place to go for a curry, and make sure that the Kolkata Derby's on, and you can go and watch that, because it's apparently absolutely radio rental.
Just one quickly that springs to mind as well.
I'm very impressed with that. No, right. We've got it. I think there's a mini golf clap needed for Steve for that one. That's some sterling research went into that one.
Well done.
I love that.
I'm proud of you.
I love that.
Well done.
What were you saying? Quick sports headlines. Quick.
Yeah, just in recent times, Ryan Shawcross. Do you remember him? Do you remember the tackle he put on at Adebayor?
Yes.
And there was one also where he put on, was it Francis Jeffers? I think it was Jeffers. I can't remember. It's Ryan Shawcross went absolutely through. I think it was Jeffers, and he was out for like 3 months. He literally broke his leg. Ryan Shawcross was one of the fiercest players I've ever seen as a centre back as well. He was so aggressive.
As far as spicy defenders were concerned, he was probably up there with a Vindaloo, without a doubt. Don't get us wrong, he was no Julian Dix or John Kay or Kilcline or somebody of that standard, but modern day he wasn't bad. Anyway,
my nan was a big fan.
You nan. On that note, sports headlines before we fall into a coma.
Oh dear.
Together across the northeast.
The tune, the cat, and the red.
It
Big
is.
shout out to Caroline, lads. Big shout out to Caroline, who's wanting to know what the stain is on the chair in the studio.
Actually,
I'd never do it to you, Caroline.
And how has some of it got on my seat?
I am joking, Caroline. We love you really. She did send in. She did send in a really good topic.
Yeah,
to discuss.
She'd sent in a post that she'd seen on social media from a social media user called Wallsend Mag. And what was interesting was, I'll read out some of the post. I was at Borough versus Chelsea last night, and sadly have to report that their atmosphere absolutely something's all over ours. There we go. Thank you. If I was to compare that to our semi-final last year. Firstly, the DJ does a great job at working up the crowd. It was already full 15 minutes before kick-off. So he turned the music off and just let the crowd sing. And it was the best build-up to a match I can remember in years. We were in the West End, equivalent to the Milburn at St James's Park, and people were bouncing up and down in there. Certainly wouldn't happen at St James's Park. Their main singing end was to our right, the South Stand, and it was clear that they'd organised an ultras group in there, and there was even a podium for a drummer to stand. What I will say is it never stopped all night. A full end, 5 or 6K, all stood the entire match and singing song after song. The North Stand opposite, although mainly seated except towards the back, was still very loud. It made it a really noisy experience. And one thing I did notice was how different the demographic is between their fan base and ours. In their main singing end, it appeared to be all teenagers and lads in their 20s and 30s, where we are, it was people more in their 30s and 40s, but still loads of kids. You can probably add 20 years onto that if you're talking about the St James's Park end. It was nice as a neutral to be part of such a young, enthusiastic, vibrant support. And I came away slightly envious, I'll be honest.
Yes.
And that's from Wallsend Mag.
I will add, before anyone asks, that's not my alt account.
I mean, that's really interesting, Steve, that someone comparing, the fantastic experience at the Riverside the other night.
We're just young and exciting
Park.
group, Steve, and you're a bunch of old blokes.
I mean, look, you're comparing different games, and different games bring different atmospheres. I mean, I was at the Newcastle United Carabao Cup semi-final at St James's Park last year, and it was absolutely sensational. Yeah. So I was at the PSG game this year, and it was up there with one of the best atmospheres that we've had at St James's Park for the last 25 years. So, I guess it depends which game you go to. I guess if you'd gone to watch Middlesbrough play
versus Stoke earlier in the season,
I think it would have been slightly different. So I don't think there's a comparison really. But fair play to to, fair play to a Newcastle fan for coming out and giving Borough a bit of praise in the sense that the atmosphere was exceptional.
Yeah.
But it depends which games you've been to. I mean, Wallsend Mag might be a die-hard season ticket holder who's gone, for 35 years and never missed a game. And I'm not doubting his credibility to be able to make a comment, but he might also be somebody who doesn't get to many games and has just unfortunately, picked a bad game at St James's Park, because there has been many. Over 14 years of Mike Ashley ownership, it was absolutely awful. We literally, if it came to a pub quiz and the questions were levelled about those particular years, I'm telling you now, I would be useless, because I've almost blocked it from my mind. With the exception of some players, it's almost hard to name a starting 11 from that 14-year period, because you just don't want to remember it. Yet ask me anything about the entertainers, or ask me anything about Sir Bobby Robson's days, and I can pretty much come up with it. Even those managers who didn't do so well in their time at Newcastle, the likes of Ruud Gullit and Dalglish, which are frowned upon. I could reel off, answers from those seasons. But yeah, it just depends which game you go to. That's all. And the same could be said about Sunderland as well. The atmosphere for the derby was good. It was a great derby atmosphere, the build-up, etc. But as you say, Sunderland go and play Stoke in the league, on a cold January day. It's not going to be the same atmosphere, is it?
Weirdly, that's exactly the one I was thinking of from last season. I was over there, and I actually took Mrs. Ted because I'm romantic. I took it to the stadium to watch the Stoke game where we got absolutely lashed 5-1. I know. So yeah.
Well, it is 8:38 in the morning, by the way. 8:38 in the morning, and just a shout out to all the Newcastle fans who need to take their meds, just as a reminder.
Well, I've got to shut up for 5 minutes. I've got 5 minutes left, lads.
Well, I think
we need to get this competition sorted.
Who's taking
Come on,
the
then,
lead out? Who's taking the lead out? Who's taking the lead out?
Slightly dubious accent on this, by the way, Ted.
I've now, in tribute to this, I'll put me Joe Frazier picture on
said
Facebook.
join the jobless line.
Here's the line.
So a kidnapped footballing folk of Havana could fit in. So Stephen Rye, you need to shout out, who's taking the lead out? Who's taking the lead out?
Right, be quiet. It's coming up.
Who's taking the lead out?
It's coming.
Who's taking the lead out?
Radio Gold, right here.
I love this instrumental, Ted. It's
this
fantastic.
little build-up.
Here we go.
Down, down, down.
It's definitely Steve.
It
does sound like Steve.
So we've got a past Premier League manager on the coast, on the West Coast. It's not Big Sam.
I can kind of
It's not Eltel.
I mean, you guys in the studio and on the end of the mics might get this one if I give you one final clue. It just depends how well you've actually listened to me in the past, or whether you just ignore everything I say.
The last one.
Mrs. Ted got this pretty quickly.
Mrs. Ted.
That's not the clue, is it?
That's the clue. Mrs. Ted got it pretty quickly.
Oh my God.
I have mentioned from where Mrs. Ted is from. I need to give away our real name there. That I would have been shot for that.
Oh, he has.
I have divulged where Mrs. Ted is from.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Would you like to divulge again where she's from?
No. I appreciate the unsubtle attempts to get that done there, Daz.
Yeah, well tried.
So I'm gonna have to
Tony
watch.
Poulos is my last. That's my last bet. My last guess.
I can't remember Tony Poulos ever laughing. No.
No.
Yeah, it's not Tony
Not with
Poulos.
that hat
I will
on.
let you know via WhatsApp though, Steve, so you're not wondering about it all day and it won't spoil
Thanks,
your
mate.
day.
And Steve,
Take care, Stevie.
one more time, Steve. Are you ready?
There's no difference between
Brilliant,
that and
man.
Steve. It's mad, isn't it?
It's not at all, it's mad. Right, lads, I shall see you tomorrow morning.
Have a good one. Take care, Steve.
I'll see you on Monday. I will see you on Monday, mate. I'm not here
Yes,
tomorrow.
enjoy
so I'll see
your
you
weekend,
Monday.
bro. Take care.
Thank
Tell
you,
you what,
mate.
am I the only ever present this week, or what?
Yep, you are. Yep. Holding down the fort.
I've racked up more appearances than Radio Dad this week.
I can't get this. This is.
Ian's been back in touch, by the way, on the WhatsApp.
Oh, has he?
Morning,
Has he?
Ian. Yeah, he said, I've just tuned in. I thought I was still having a trippy dream with that tune, lads. That's what you've done to him this morning, Ted.
I'm glad that the thousands that I spent on production has not been wasted. Yes, yeah. We do want to know whether you prefer this or whether you want What the Fact to come back. But yeah, well,
What the
give
Fact,
it a go.
please.
This is a grower. This game is a bit like mould. It grows.
No.
I'm glad you went that
Get
route.
the bleach onto it. Get the bleach on it.
Come on.
You can have your say on the WhatsApp 0330 043 2002. You can tell we need some help here. 0330 043 2002. Drop us a WhatsApp if you know who that laugh is.
So, just to tie things up, we'll leave that mystery person tied to the radiator for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Rye, Daz,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Liverpool and Real Madrid want Paris Saint-Germain's Kylian Mbappe. He's out of contract at the end of the season. Free to sign for another club this month, actually. He can decide to move. Where do you reckon he's going to end up? And do you think he should actually try a move to the Premier League? Because obviously we're talking about, French league being a bit of a farmers' league. There's only one or two teams maybe ever going to be in it. Spain's no different, really. Real Madrid, we'll come to them in a bit, actually. They haven't lost a game since August. So they're not exactly in need of it. Do you reckon the Premier League would be a good place for Mbappe to prove his worth even more?
Yeah, I 100% reckon he would. And I reckon if Mo Salah leaves Liverpool in that, remember that Saudi Arabian deal that was 200 million or whatever it was?
Yeah.
There's your money for Mbappe, right? So if Salah goes, I reckon, and then Liverpool get that 200 million or whatever it is pound for Salah, there's your money for Mbappe, and they go for Mbappe because he's the right winger that will replace Salah. And what a replacement would be. You're losing one of your best players. We were just talking the other day, weren't we, about Mo Salah being one of the greats. Do you know what I mean? So to replace Mo Salah with Kylian Mbappe, it keeps your fan base happy. You've got the money to do it, and that's where I see his line into the Premier League. But yeah, I agree. I think we'd love to see him in the Premier League, see what he's all about. He's been one of those entities that has always been spoken about, but he's always been in those other leagues, so he's never really, sort of paid attention to it. I mean, we've often laughed about it, but I'm sorry, French league, but PSG walk that league most years. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's the teams they come up against in week out aren't, it's not a high standard of football week in, week out. But if he was to come to the Premier League, he's got to come up against some of, the world-class defenders, some of the toughest ones. Can he still be, as magical as he was? I mean, where we saw him against Newcastle, he kind of went quiet. Do you know what I mean?
He was very ordinary at that game, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was in at St James Park on a cold night. You know what I mean? He couldn't perform. So
that's what makes me doubt whether he could do it week in, week out in the Premier League. Is he
that's what you guys doubt Messi from it.
Yeah, I was just about to say we talked about this when we discussed Messi, the whole Messi thing, didn't we?
Yeah,
exactly.
Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, dare they come to the Premier League? Because they've dominated in Spain in that league. They've dominated in France, where I could dominate. Would they dare come? Because when Mbappe came against Newcastle, he was a very ordinary player. Yes, he had those flashes of brilliance, and I just don't know. I don't know, if they've got the guts to do it. If he's got the guts to come.
I think there's a question mark over that, Daz. I've got to be honest with you. I think it's down to bottle. I think Messi and Neymar both had opportunities to come to the Premier League. I think there was definitely money there available. If you look at the likes of Man City, that was never going to be an issue. But they've just they evaded. The reason why I admire Ronaldo the way I do as the GOAT, and I'll very, very loudly kind of beat me chest over that one, is he's given it a go, and Ronaldo's been a success in the Premier League, which is, for me, a much, much tougher league. You've only got to look at the top 6 now becoming a top 8, becoming a top 10 in the Premier League. That standard is just that much higher and that much more physical.
But he moved to so many clubs, Ronaldo. You know what I mean? He played everywhere. Messi was he was that class. He played at Barcelona for that many years at the top level. And the Ballon d'Ors and that. I'm not going to get this argument again because it's one that's going forever, but Ronaldo sucked. So let's just leave it there. I think for me, look, I think Mbappe finds his way to Liverpool. Whether he's got it to, wants to do it or not, who knows? Do you know what I mean? You've got to look at those because on a cold night, at Newcastle when it's raining, do you know what I mean? A cold night, around England and all that sort of stuff. No, not as much sunshine and all that through the winter periods and stuff like that. You've got to be able to perform week in, week out. And if you're not, you're going to get found out in the Premier League very, very, very quickly. Look, it'd be a big ask. I think Liverpool suits him. Yeah, they've got that sort of style under Klopp to play him into a Mo Salah role where they sort of just use him and him only. The penalty taker, the free kick taker, everything like that. It's Mo Salah replacement. I don't think he fits into a team like Man City or something like that just because they're superstar studded at the moment anyway. You know what I mean? I think he wants to be the main man.
He wants to be the main man, doesn't he?
Club. Yeah, he's the token sort of carrier, the marquee signing, if you will. So I'd love to see him at the Premier League. I really would. Whether he does it or not, I don't know. Yeah,
I agree. I don't want to come all over Kevin Keegan, but I would love it if he came to the Premier League and showed what he is capable of doing. And I agree with you, Rai. I think Liverpool would be a real good club for him to go to fill that Salah role. I think Klopp would work well with him. I think
smash him.
But I would suspect he'll go to Real. Money, and he'll have an easier ride. He won't necessarily be, will he be? I'm trying to think now who Real have still got. Would he still be top dog there? He probably would. But I think
do they need him though?
Well,
no.
That's another question.
Real Madrid, like I mentioned, mate, Real Madrid haven't lost a game since August. And now, for me, I think they now are probably a better side or a better team, I should put it, than when they had that lost Galacticos weight around their necks. It's a team that they've built rather. Yes, they have bought players in, of course they have. Jude Bellingham being one of the key ones in that.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're not what you would call like megastars. They're not Beckhams, Figos, Ronaldo Nazarios, and all that sort of lot. They're building a side of team players, and I just wonder whether somebody like Mbappe, because to all intents and purposes, the kid has got an ego on him, and you kind of think,
massive.
would that upset Real Madrid? Do they need that in the dressing room? Whereas Liverpool, I think, moving to Liverpool, yes, he would be the big fish in a smaller pond compared to Real Madrid, and I think because of Mbappe's ego, I think he'd possibly look at a Premier League stint as something like, right, I'm going to do something that the other greats haven't done. Like sort of, okay, so Neymar didn't try it, Messi didn't try it. Yes, okay, Ronaldo did, but I'm going to try it and I'm going to trump him. And I just wonder whether that little bit of an ego might creep into that one. It's entirely possible, but you'll prove us all wrong. You just stay at PSG and collect his wages every month, like that.
Yeah. Which is
there anybody else
who?
Is anybody else who's capable of going for it? He wouldn't go to Saudi, would he?
No,
really
not. He's still young, but I don't know. Money talks, mate, with these boys. You know what I mean? Money talks a lot, sort of thing. So, I mean, he's currently on. Kylian Mbappe's weekly salary earns around, this is in euro, 1,748,269 a week.
What?
Under his current contract at PSG.
He's close to what we're on for the breakfast show then.
Yeah, exactly. This is just off. Yeah, I just quickly Googled it, but as per just recently, Mbappe earns around 1,748,269 euros a week under his current terms of contract with contract. What's that in pounds? Hang on. That is £1,503,081. That can't be right? He's earning 1.5 mil a week in pound.
That's just.
Who's going to, I no. Do you know what I mean? No, who's paying that? So yes, he's going to Saudi and he's taking Jordan Henderson's spot because there's £1.5 million a week. You are taking the mick. Blooming hell. That is crazy.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Who is paying that for a player? You know, I don't care how good you are, mate. Like, if you want that, mate, you got to score 4 goals a game. That's on your contract, I tell you. I mean, that is ridiculous.
I mean, he's a good player and all that, but like, do you not think he's a little bit overrated, or am I just on my own with this one?
No,
I'm probably going to get shouted at.
I totally agree with you, and I've not watched a lot of him. I've seen the little clips that you see on YouTube, the little the amazing stuff. But I think that Newcastle game was the first time in a while that I'd sat and watched him.
He got found out.
And I agree. I think he did. Yeah, and come on, come to the Premier League. Come and have a go. Because he doesn't need the money.
Liam Gallagher now.
I am a little bit, aren't I? I'm so sorry.
Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah. I definitely didn't go that far. I'm far too middle class for that, aren't I? I bailed out at the end. Come on. Seriously, come and show what you're worth. If you are the world's greatest player now. If you have taken that mantle, and Bellingham would be on the phone anyway. Come and prove what you're worth in the Premier League.
Who can afford that though? It's the only person that can is Liverpool. But if they sell Salah, I mean, but even then, you know what I mean, you're talking.
They afford his wages.
That's 200 million, but they're going to pay him what 1 million a week or something. I mean, like he's going to take a pay cut wherever he goes. So. Yeah, I don't know. Those wages are incredible. I don't know who can afford that. And you're right. Maybe it is. He just stays at PSG and plays it out there because they're the only ones that can keep him on their wage. You know what I mean? So, and he's happy there, and he's being recognised as, of everything he's got. So, yeah, crazy amount of money.
It's a mad one. And I think the other thing for me as well is that I think you kind of do question his attitude a little bit. That Newcastle game is a great 100%. Example of that, where. Don't expect him to sort of chase back into midfield and try and win the ball back or anything like that. I think he's one of them, unless the passes are absolutely 100% accurate for him, I don't think he's going to break his neck to try and get on the end of something. No. He'll just kind of turn around and give you a bit of a bit of a sly look as if to say, well, why am I having to chase back and do that and put some sort of work and effort in? Liverpool... I think on the basis of the salary, mate, that does rule a lot of people out unless they get an absolute mega deal for Salah, which is entirely possible. But I'm sure, obviously, Salah's getting reports from his old teammate Jordan Henderson. He was probably saying,
"Don't do it.
Your contract, mate." Yeah, exactly, exactly. But you've got to bear in mind though that Salah is from that part of the world, and his profile over there, is huge, possibly even more so than what it is in Europe. So he can be seen as some sort of statesman of the game if he goes over there. It'd be almost like a hero's return going back over to those parts. So, yeah, I think maybe...
Salah is on £350,000 per week. That's his weekly salary, compared to Mbappe, who's 1.5 million. So... There you go.
Wow.
Weekly salary for Mohamed Salah as of 2024. His weekly salary is £350,000. Now we just did the math from Euro for Mbappe, and he'd be 1.5 million per week. Weekly salary. So,
and
you're asking for another mil.
You're not guaranteed that Mbappe is going to hit the ground running and be able to provide the same as what Salah does.
He'd never want to get injured for me, mate. You know what I mean? What, you got a cough? That's funny. Get out there.
We are heading towards 9 o'clock, and coming up at 9 is the mid-morning nonsense. So I think, Ted, we need to do and get this finished.
Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out?
You've got no idea how much joy I had at making this.
Oh, we can imagine you.
I can hear it in your voice. I can hear how happy you are. I got the messages, mate. Don't you worry about that.
He did as well.
And he said, I joined the jobless line.
Here we go.
So a kidnapped footballing fucking Havana could fit in. What? So Steve and Rye, you need to shout out, who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna let out? Who's Ted gonna
The
let
single
out?
king.
Thank you.
Who's Ted gonna let
All
out?
bow down.
Bow wow down.
You ready? You ready?
Shh, 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 shh.
So there you go, Ted.
I'm
who
going to
is
give
Ted
you one
gonna...
more clue.
Okay.
I'm going to give you
Okay.
one more clue. An
Yep.
old Bristolian.
Jack has been back in touch on the WhatsApp.
Oh,
and has
hello,
said,
Jack.
Is it Ian Holloway?
Yes, Jack. Yes.
Absolutely
Out of nowhere.
Well done.
Absolutely.
Jack.
Well done. Old
Amazing.
Ian Holloway.
Is
Good
Ian
work.
Holloway's unshackled from the radiator. Bye, Ian. Bye. He's been released.
See you,
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for
He's
joining
been
us, Ian. Thanks for
returned
playing.
safely to his loved ones.
Oh, good on you. Thanks for
loved one.
playing, Ian.
Loved one, yes. Yeah. That clip that I took
Wow.
that from, by the way, is absolute comedy gold with Ian Holloway. I love Ian Holloway. Just like everything is a diamond quote from him.
It was funny.
He's just
It was
such
funny.
good entertainment value. But yes, obviously
He was.
he was the Blackpool manager in
He was.
their solitary season at the Hard, which is obviously where Mrs. Ted is from, on the West Coast.
Yep.
Yes.
I did know.
Now you
I did
mention
know
that
that.
now,
I just yeah. You know, it's crazy. The only game I've ever seen live in my life with Middlesbrough was against Blackpool. We lost 3-0 as well. And it was Ian Holloway with Charlie Adam. I remember seeing him on the touchline,
Yes,
thinking,
yeah.
I dislike you. You've ruined my only time here in Middlesbrough. But I have the only game I've seen was an Ian Holloway masterclass dismantling Middlesbrough with Gary Taylor Fletcher. Remember him?
Yeah, another good player. They had a fantastic side, you know. I mean, for
They
all they
did.
got relegated after one season, they played 4-3-3. They played some good attacking
Prime Charlie
football.
Adam.
Oh yeah,
Charlie Adam was in
quality.
his prime. Yeah, he was unstoppable then. It was incredible.
Yeah, good size.
Daz.
Good size. Daz, what
Big
Daz,
show
what have you
coming
got
up.
coming up?
Yeah, so we've got the usual nonsense. Yeah, before anyone else says it, we've got a category this morning because just before Christmas, you remember Ryan O'Neill passed away.
Yes.
and as a kid, I always called him Ryan O'Neill. Ryan O'Neill. Right? Yeah, that was, I don't know why. So what I thought, can we come up with any other famous celebrities that are actual animals? And I know, right? So Ryan O'Neill,
Yep.
Sea Lion Dion,
Yeah, that's well done. Sea Lion Dion.
Olivia Newt and John, and
God.
Sam and Rushdie. So we're looking for more of those.
Salmon Rushdie. What about Didier Drogba?
Oh, there we go. And see, I'm going to start my categories on this show from now on. So we've got that coming up, and then after 10.
I've got two. I've
Go
got
on.
one with who's
go
two
on.
animals in one. Cat and mole.
Oh, very
Yeah.
Lee Catamall. Very good.
Yep.
Thank you so much, gents. It's been
Thank
another
you.
fab
I am not
Northeast
here
Footy
tomorrow, so
Brekky.
I will bid you adieu. Have a fantastic weekend, Borough fans. I'll be there for Millwall, but I'm not here tomorrow. I am moving house. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll be back Monday. And there'll be nobody talking over anyone tomorrow, so you can have a good show tomorrow, Ted.
All the
Goes
best.
well, mate.
Yeah, hope that goes well. And the Northeast Footy Brekky will be back tomorrow morning from 7. If you missed this morning, you can catch the replay this afternoon between 4 and 6 across the network. Have a fantastic day, guys.
See you, lads.
Bye.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swalwell to Silverlink. The Northeast Footy Breakfast with Roy, Steve and Ted.
Right across the north.